Handcrafted and American made right here in the USA. B Pro Kennels is bringing you a premium built dog box unlike anything you've ever seen before. Built from a full tube frame, aluminum powder coated shell, built-in lockable storage, and oh, did you forget to charge those dog collars before you left? No worries, B Pro has you covered with their built-in solar panel and battery bank to take care of all your charging needs while out on the road chasing birds this fall. Give them a serious look at bprokennels.com. And don't forget the B Pro Kennels Launch Edition promo code ROOKIE30. If you've ever considered a dog box before, now is the time to get your order in the month of July. 30% off. It's going to save you 30% off your order with B Pro Kennels by using promo code ROOKIE30. Again, don't wait. July, or once August 1st hits, this promo code is not available anymore. If you're thinking about a dog box, reach out to Ben, get your order in. He can customize whatever you need. You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Upland Brits. This podcast is also sponsored by Anook Shook Professional Dog Food and Trinity Bretons, home of the Epinol Breton. All good things start with a solid foundation. At Final Rise, all three of their premium Upland vests are built around the foundational waist belt to provide you all-day comfort and endless customization. With a secure waist belt and a thin, high-quality shoulder harness, which sits perfectly along the back, holding everything in place. Durable, premium Upland gear made here in my neighboring state of Heber, Utah. Check them out at finalrise.com. Also, be sure to check out the brand new Sidekick vest, which is the perfect ultra-light, ultra-minimalistic vest that you'll be rocking in the hills this season. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. You are listening to episode 52 with Shawn Wayment. Now, you may recognize the last name. Well, that's because we had Andy Wayment on last week's episode talking about his new book, Idaho Upland Days. Fantastic conversation I had with Andy, so you might want to go check that conversation out if you haven't already. But on today's episode, I dive in with Shawn talking all things veterinary medicine. And so Shawn's actually been my vet with my dog Gage and now Win for the last several years, and I've really enjoyed getting to learn from him and ask him all sorts of silly and serious questions along the way. So I really appreciate Shawn taking some time to sit down with us, not only talking about veterinary medicine and wound care and injuries and things to look for in dogs and all that kind of good stuff, but we get to learn a little bit more about Shawn, some of his most memorable hunts. Talk a little bit about a woodcock hunt that he did in South Carolina recently. And so I really think you are going to enjoy this conversation with Shawn Wayment. Hey everyone, so a couple quick announcements before we jump into the podcast. First off, I just got back from camping with my kiddos, and it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. Kind of a double or dual purpose trip. So we went, scouting for some blue grouse here in my home state of Colorado, and then just a camping trip with the kids. So on all accounts, it was successful, I would say. The kids had a blast. They stayed up late, ate a bunch of s'mores, hot dogs, mac and cheese, kind of the favorites, I guess, of camping for our house. But so yeah, we had a good time. No bear encounters or anything like that. So smiles all around. And then we did end up finding some blue grouse, which I was super excited about. I've been scouting for those birds for several years now. Not hard though, just kind of very casually over the last several years. And so I was very excited. I was grinning ear to ear to finally get into some blue grouse. And it was a good feeling. Just able to find some birds, and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm happy. I found them. looking at my schedule, I mean, I want to get back and hunt them this September, October, but again, with the baby and all that stuff and some other plans I got in the works for some hunting trips, I don't know. We'll see if it works out, but definitely got me excited for the season, seeing some wild birds. So super fun, but hopefully you guys have been able to get out there and work your dogs. Might not be on wild birds, but maybe you're, working on some training or, brushing up on some things, whatever it is. I preach this all the time, is just get out there with your dog, work on whatever, your goal is, like take some baby steps towards that goal and, make a plan to get there. So whether it's conditioning or retrieving or steadiness or, pointing, whatever it might be, set that goal and then, write out a plan of like, okay, how are you going to get there for that? So right now I'm taking my younger female Win through the breaking process right now. And so we were just out there again this morning. And it's been a fun process to go through that with her. I did it with Gage last summer, and so it's been a little easier, I would say. I mean, I haven't encountered any hiccups yet. Gage was just a little older, a little more stubborn. Win has been just a really real joy to work with. And so, again, I think I know a little bit more now. not that I know, much more, but I think just doing it once, not doing it twice with another dog, you start to get a little more comfortable. And so anyways, I have a good mentor I've learned from and being able to walk through the process. So anyways, that's kind of what I've been up to. Hey, I want to remind you, this is probably going to be the last podcast of the month of July. And so I want to mention to everyone, this is, we're kind of in the home stretch for you to get signed up for the summer fall podcast giveaway. And so just a reminder, we're doing a giveaway every month for the next 4 months. So I'm drawing a winner for July, one for August, one for September, and one for October. And so you have to be signed up on patreon.com. Just search the Upland Rookie Podcast, get signed up, be a Patreon supporter. I greatly appreciate that. It helps support the show. But as well, there's some added benefits like this giveaway. For you to be a supporter, you're going to be able to get some chances at some really incredible gear. And so if you head over to Patreon, you'll see the full breakdown of what is up for grabs. And so it's going to be winner's choice, as I've mentioned before. So whoever wins in July is going to get to pick from one of the 4 prizes. Once that prize is gone, then August, the other remaining 3 will be available. So you have some great companies, of course. Final Rise, Matt Davis is putting up a vest for us to give away. So it's going to be a Sidekick vest, which is a brand new one. I just got my own Sidekick vest in the mail here, and it is awesome. I took it up with me scouting for blue grouse. So that's an option if you want the new Sidekick vest, or you can do the Legacy vest or the tried and true Summit vest. And so I think it's my personal favorite still. It's kind of the original one I got, 3 years ago. But again, if you choose the vest from Final Rise, you're going to get to pick which vest you would want to win. And then moving on, we got the Upland Knife Company giving away a custom knife with the podcast logo engraved onto the knife with a sheath. And so that's an incredible giveaway. The other one is a cable gang system from Cable Gangs, or a tie-out system, I guess. And it's going to be a 2-dog system with ground stakes. Now, these ground stakes, I bent some old ones I had, and so I just got the new ground stakes that Brennan's offering over there, and they're really sweet. So 2-dog system with ground stakes, or you can choose a 4-dog system, but that's not going to come with ground stakes, okay? And then the last option for giveaway is the Gunner Fan Kit 2.0. Super long battery life. They just came out with this about 4 or 5 months ago. It's going to attach to your Gunner kennel, or really any kennel. I think it's going to attach super easily. You can attach it with zip ties, all sorts of contraptions, but it does come with a mount I think will work in pretty much any kennel. So, excuse me. Anyways, really thankful for all the companies and have some really sweet gear. So get signed up on Patreon. Again, July winner, I will reach out to the July winner from my podcast. I'll pick a winner and then I'll reach out to either phone, email, whatever it is. So we'll go from there. So get signed up in July. August 1st, I will contact the winner and we'll go from there. Other than that, I do have some merch or hats in the work, designing some hats with a great company right now. So stay tuned for more info on hats. Working on, I guess, kind of let me know. I'd love your feedback on, I've been kind of debating whether I do, so it's my new logo. I've got a few different birds. I have a dog, a setter. Do you want to see multiple options, or can we just rock with the sharp tail and the Brittany? Let me know if you want to see a pheasant, sage grouse for a hat. Let me know if you're interested. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to go Brittany and sharp tail grouse. And I'll do a couple styles of hats in those with a nice leather patch. But if you really, really are interested and you will want to purchase another style, maybe a pheasant, the quail, I have a rough grouse feather coming up. So if you'd be interested in those for a hat, let me know, please, sooner than later. Because I'm kind of putting the final touches on the hat order. So again, you get it. It's kind of complicated doing lots of different logos and styles. I'm trying to narrow it down a little bit. I think the sharp tail, it's kind of classic. I started with that on my original logo. I love sharp tail. It's a great bird to hunt. It's kind of, again, just my flavor of the podcast. And of course the Brittany, I'm doing some Brittany, so don't blame me for that. Anyways, let me know what you'd want to see on a hat and what you would actually purchase. Would love the feedback and have you let me know what you would buy. Okay, so sorry, it's getting longer. I always intend for these to be shorter than they are, but I just have things that are just running around in my head. I'm like, all right, I have to say this. I forgot that. So you get it. It's a Sunday afternoon here. It's raining, kind of slow. Our house is a mess. We got to get inside and clean. You know how it goes. I got my garage all organized a couple of days ago from our camping trip, and it was hard. I was packing it was a kind of a last minute decision to go camping. And I was like, all right, I got to, find all my stuff. I was kind of in different bins. My God, I'm struggling here. I got to wrap this up. Anyway, so when I got back from camping, I was able to do some organizing, got my deck drawer system organized, garage bins, all that good stuff. So anyways, I'm going to shut up for now. I'm literally losing my voice as we speak. Okay, we're going to dive into the conversation. Here is Shawn Wayment. Shawn, thanks so much for jumping on the podcast with me here. Why don't you give everyone a little introduction about who you are and also put us on a map. Where are you talking to us from?
All right. My name is Shawn Wayment, and I'm from eastern Idaho. Grew up in northern Utah and eastern Idaho. And then now I live currently in Castle Rock, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. It's back about smack dab between Denver and Colorado Springs. And I've lived here for, since 99. So I went to vet school at Washington State University and graduated in 1997. And then I practiced in Walla Walla, which is a great town, good bird hunting there. I practiced there for 2 years, and then I moved to Castle Rock, and I've been here ever since. So to give you a little background about my practice, I worked for a guy when I moved here in 99 for about 5 years, and then me and him had a falling out. So that was about 2003, I started my own practice, and I owned that practice for 18 years and just sold it a year and a half ago. So that's pretty much a nutshell there.
That's awesome. Did you always know you wanted to be a vet?
That's funny you asked that. I was thinking about that this morning. I was out casting my fly rod, and probably since the second grade is when I realized I wanted to be a veterinarian. I had this thing for hunting dogs since the second grade. I'd check out every single book on hunting dogs and take them home, and I've always loved hunting dogs. So my brothers and I grew up with Springer Spaniels. My dad liked Springer Spaniels, but I always wanted a pointing dog. So I actually never got a pointing dog till I was in veterinary school.
Okay.
So
I'm excited to unpack more of your journey, more about your dogs and some of the ones that you've had over the past. I got to ask you. So I just started reading your brother's latest book, Idaho Upland Hunting,
Yeah.
and I'm about halfway through. But I got to ask, why did you sell him Bustin' Dusty?
Well, actually, I did. This is a funny story, and Andy, forgive me, but anyways, I didn't actually sell him the dog. I got the dog from a famous dog trainer, and it was a trade for some vet work. And then I had two other dogs, and Dusty and I just couldn't get along. And one day he was out in the pasture with my horses. I had a Missouri foxtrotter named Chico, and he got behind Chico and he got kicked right in the head. And his head swelled up the size of a pumpkin. And I'm not even joking about that. And finally, I drained probably about 4 gallons of pus out of his head.
Wow.
Just it was in the subcutaneous tissue or in the subcutaneous tissue. But the dog was never right again. And me and him just never got along. So I thought, well, Andy needs another dog. I'll let Andy have that dog. So
I was chuckling. I was reading some of that. I was like, "What?" I mean, I don't know. I was like, he seemed very excited. He'll have to speak for himself here, but he seemed very excited to take this dog. I know he had some trials with that one as well, but
well, it goes back to Andy had a really nice pointer named Farley. I mean, that dog was amazing. At 3 months of age, we knew he was going to be an exceptional dog. And so I think that's why Andy liked pointers. And I was always a pointer fan too. My first pointer I got was in vet school. But anyways, one of the things that I remember about Dusty that I don't know if Andy ever, I've read that story that you're talking about. I don't have Andy's book yet. He's sending me a copy this week when he gets the hardbacks in. But anyways, when Dusty was a puppy, there was 2 yellow and white pointers in that litter. And we went up into the flat tops and we're chasing grouse with those puppies. They didn't have names yet, but then the trainer ended up naming them Dingy and Dusty because they got covered in dirt. So that's what, Dusty was a good dog. So after he got kicked in the head, he was never right again, though.
Really? Oh, interesting. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad I could ask you about that directly. I was chuckling to myself. Well, can you back up a little bit? Where did this love for bird dogs and upland hunting and outdoors, like where'd that come from? Or where'd it start from with you and your family?
We grew up in Utah. My dad he just loved hunting. He loved every bit of hunting and fishing, and he tried to get all of us involved. We had 8 kids where you have 6 coming up. Mm-hmm. But anyways, he got all of us involved in the outdoors, and he drug us along even when we were as little as possible, and to be able to follow him. And my love for hunting birds, he liked to hunt pheasants, and we had this line of Springer Spaniels called Sure Shot, and I think he had 3 or 4 of those dogs. And, and me and Andy, actually it was Andy's dog, and his name was Charlie Brown, but Andy was so little that I took the dog hunting with me all the time. And that's back in the days where you could just grab your gun and go out the back door and go hunting.
That's awesome. Where are you at in the age order of all your siblings?
I'm second oldest, and let's see, Andy's 4 years young. No, Andy's 6 years younger than I am.
Okay.
So
you were kind of leading the way then for kind of the rest of your siblings with bird hunting and just getting out there.
Yeah. We have an older sister. I had an older sister, and then it was me, and then everybody else behind me. So
okay, that's awesome. And then so it sounds like your dad had a couple great couple spaniels. Like when did you kind of know you wanted your own pointing dog? Like what was that turning point for you that said, "Hey, I
knew it."
Okay.
Well, I knew. I really like to hunt pheasants with that Springer Spaniel, Charlie Brown. He was a master of pheasant hunting. He learned that those things would run, and so he would get them and corner them and bring them back and flush them over the top of me. And even when I was young, I shot a lot of pheasants over him. But then, how life goes. You get involved in sports, and And then I joined the Army, didn't have a dog then. And then when I got out of the Army, I wanted a dog so bad. So I didn't actually get another dog till I was in vet school. Um, and actually, it was an interesting thing because in vet school, there was an ad in the newspaper. I went to Washington State. There was an ad in the Spokane newspaper about this crazy hunting dog needs crazy hunter. And so I called on it, and it was an English pointer, little tiny LHU English pointer that the husband and wife were about ready to get divorced over. Oh, no. because the dog would run off, and he wanted to use an electronic collar. Now, this is back when electronic collars were just starting to come out. Sure. They were big and bulky. And the wife said, if you put an electronic collar on that dog, I'm divorcing you. So they were about ready to get divorced over this little dog. Her name was Jibbers. And so I took her, and I learned immediately, because I didn't have the money to buy an electronic collar, that dog would run off. And she'd be gone for weeks.
No way.
I'm not kidding you. One time I had her on a check cord. I was on this golf course. It was just down the street from my house. I thought, well, I'll get her. I've been working on Come in the Backyard. I took her to classes, and I turned her loose on the golf course, and that was it. She was gone.
Didn't see her for a couple of days?
Well, they found her about 75 miles from where I lost her.
Oh my gosh.
And so I got her back. When the kid called me that found her, I said, do you want that dog? And he's like, no, I can't have this dog. She's really a nice dog. But anyways, I got her back, and I said, okay, I'll borrow some money from my folks or somebody, and I'll just get an electronic collar. And I ordered it through Cabela's. That was back when Cabela's was mail order. You probably don't remember this, Will, but you get a big catalog, and they were like 3 or 4 inches thick in the mail. And that's how I ordered that. Yeah. I had to call up Cabela's, tell them I want to. I mean, the internet was out, but shoot, sure. It was so expensive, nobody could afford to be on the internet.
Right.
And it took forever with the dial-up.
Oh God, dial-up. Jeez. Oh, good. I mean, I remember those. Again, we got the Cabela's magazines. That was always, they'd come around Christmas time, things like that. Mm-hmm. We always look through. Yeah. Those. It might be a little different, but those are always fun.
No, I'm talking. They were through. Like 3 or 4 inches thick at that time.
Maybe not like that thick.
Phone book.
What is this thing? So did you kind of just, I guess, stumble across the pointer, or did you go into this looking for a pointer when you were getting your first dog?
No, I loved the Springer Spaniel, but I knew their shortcomings, and I always wanted a dog that would find a bird and point it, and I didn't have to be running, because when my dog I could tell right the minute that Springer Spaniel would get on birds, his tail would go crazy, and I'd have to start running after him. And I just wanted a dog that would be staunch and just slam on a point, and I'll back up a little bit. One of my all-time heroes in life growing up was Charlie Waterman, and he wrote a lot about English pointers. And I'm like, I'm going to get an English pointer one day.
I kind of planted the seed for you.
Yeah. Yep.
That's cool. How, I guess this past season, thinking about this past season for you, like what are some new things you learned, or maybe some highlights you took away, over last season or two?
What are some highlights that I learned over the last season or two? Well, one of the things that I did the last 2 years is I went to South Carolina woodcock hunting, and the guy we hunted with, he exclusively uses English pointers. And it was really one of the things I learned is let your dog do the work. And we just watch on the GPS collar or on our watches. Okay, the dog's on point 50 yards in there. Just, go find the dog and let the dog do all the work. I learned a lot about woodcock, and I learned a lot about the types of guns I want to take on woodcock hunts. Really open choke. And I was using spreader loads with, light spreader loads with 8-shot. So,
that's cool. Was that your first time hunting woodcock, or have you?
No, I've done it 2 years in a row now. I'm going to go every year for the rest of my life until I can't walk anymore.
What made it so special?
One is the bird is pretty dang cool. I mean, I don't know if you've ever hunted woodcock before,
I'm
but
not.
no, they sit really nice for pointing dog, and when they fly, they get up and they go fast, and it's a tough shot. You're shooting through the trees.
Woodcock are the long beaks, right?
Yeah,
Kind of longer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, the other thing I learned over the last couple of years is I need more dogs. For as much as I hunt, I've had to, the last couple of years, I've had to borrow people's dogs, which I'm not opposed to borrowing dogs. Someday I'm going to write a story about borrowed dogs.
There you go. Well, because so your current dogs right now, who do you have? You said 2, right?
I have 2 English setters. I lost my English cocker last year. I got 2 English setters, but one of my English setters has bad wrists. She's one of those dogs that had her dew claws removed, and then it messed up her wrists.
Okay.
So, yep.
So can you just not hunt her as long, or
she can't go very long at all because her leg swells up. Her legs swell up so bad.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay. I'm surprised you only have 2, Shawn.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit. I got one on order.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I'm getting, I don't laugh, but I'm getting a French Brittany like Andy's got.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Related to Andy's at all or no?
Yeah, same. I don't know how they're related. It may be the same mom, but it's the same kennel. So it's a kennel out of Montana called Topper Lynn.
Okay.
So
what led you to that one? Did you just hunt over?
Well, you asked me about things that I've learned. Sorry about that. One of my favorite things to do is to hunt quail and Mearns quail. I've been going down to hunt Mearns quail the last few years, and my setters just run too fast and too big, and they just don't find the birds. They overrun them. And so a little dog, my best Mearns quail hunting has been with my English cocker. And because she worked right in front of me and she worked close to the ground, found the scent, would flush the birds. Whereas my other dogs just overran them. Now, if I was down there hunting them, 10 days in a row or something like that, they would slow down and they'd be able to pick up the scent. They'd figure it out. Yeah. So, but what I wanted is a little dog that's easy to travel with, that will work fairly close and point.
Yeah. That's exciting. They're great, great little dogs. Is this your first, will this be your first Brittany? Or have you had this? Okay.
Nope, I never had a Brittany. And I've worked on thousands and thousands of Brittany's in my career, and I've always loved Brittany's. I like all dogs.
Yeah, so sounds like it.
Opposed to any dog breed, but I've always liked Brittany's. I've got several good clients that have asked me if I was interested in their dogs over the years, and I had been, but I don't know. I just love setters. So
yeah. So I mean, over the years, and you think back maybe on some of the dogs that you've owned, what are some of the standout dogs that you've had over the years? Maybe one or 2.
You always read, and I don't know how much you're into literature, but you always read about how you get once in your lifetime, you get that perfect dog. And maybe my dogs haven't been perfect, but I don't believe that because I've had several good dogs over the years. I mean, one of my English pointers, my English pointer Gibbers that I told you about, after I got that shock collar, that changed her life, and it changed my life forever because, man, we shot a lot of birds together. She'd point, she'd just find those birds and point. So she was a phenomenal dog about teaching me about hunting dogs and teaching me about pointing dogs. And then, and the value of an electronic collar. But also, if it's used right, I should say. But see, other dogs. I had another English pointer now named Geppetto. Geppetto which we call Jep. She's probably the best hunting dog I ever had. I don't give her enough credit, but I had an English setter at the same time that I had Geppetto named Gretchen. And Gretchen was a 27-pound, light on her foot, fast running dog, and she learned everything that Geppetto knew. And then after Geppetto was gone, Gretchen was phenomenal. Man, I just loved everything about that dog. Point, she retrieved. Me and her killed so many scaled quail together. So
That's cool. That's cool. What drew you to the setters? Sounds like you've had quite a few setters over the years. What's it is it about them that keeps you coming back?
I love setters and I love English pointers. I guess it's more because of the tradition from literature that I've read.
Mm,
When you think about a old time, not photograph or yeah, even old time photographs, but old time paintings, you see the classic English pointer, English setter. I just like that. I mean, it draws me to it.
yeah.
So
Will you ever go back to a pointer or is that you kind of going towards more the setter Brittany's right now or
mm, probably not. One of my good hunting buddies, Matt Lee, he lives in South Carolina, but he travels awful lot. So we hunted like 3 times last year together. He's got pointers, and I'll just borrow his.
it's all about who you know, right?
Yeah.
It's all about who you know.
So
That's good. That's good.
and as I get closer to retirement, I think I want little dogs. So because my wife and I want to travel, we're gonna spend some time in the Carolinas and down in Belize and places like that. I'm gonna take my dogs with me. So a small dog for travel would be easier, I think.
Yeah, they're compact for sure.
Yeah.
lot easier. And the short tails. I'm just saying. So, you're not spilling drinks all over. You're not,
Yeah. The only downside though, and this is the doggone freaking burrs, man. I hate burrs and hair. English pointers, I never had to worry about that.
That's true. That's true. So, just runs off of them. What are you looking for when you're picking out a new pup? Are you big on pedigrees, or do you just want to see the parents hunt? Like, what is it you're looking for when you're picking out pups?
Well, I really like. Usually, it has to do with what the parents were like. So, like, it's as far as English setters go, Penn Star was a 5-time grouse champion, and I think he won the Grand National Grouse Championship. He's from Pennsylvania. He's long gone, but as his prodigy are just incredible hunting dogs. So I think what I'm looking for is dogs that come from lines that are known hunters or even field trial. I like the grouse and woodcock, the wild bird trial dogs a lot. So. Okay. I think probably the most important thing is that they come from a breeder that's got a good reputation, that they're honest and they know the limitations of their dog, but they also hunt their dogs. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you I guess with your personal dogs, do you like your dogs to range really big and kind of like be very bold and go, or do you like a dog that kind of is going to be a little closer working? Like, what's your style of hunting, I guess, that you like your dogs to be at?
I've had it all. And one of my good friends in Wyoming, he's got a dog that's out about a mile. I don't want a dog like that. I used to, but I can't walk that fast anymore, So the older I get, the more I want a medium range dog. And I think that my youngest setter now, whose name is June, I think June's going to be a medium range dog.
Okay.
So
that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, that's exciting, Shawn. Sounds like you've had a wide range of breeds and got to experience some different styles, and that's pretty cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, we got to get into some vet questions. I can't have a vet on this show without diving into some questions for you.
This is the part where everybody can take a nap, right?
Exactly.
I'm just kidding. I'm teasing.
So I kind of broke it into 2 sections, kind of the field care, maybe / injury section, and then maybe some more routine things we'll touch on in a second here. But kind of interesting. You might know the answer to this. So I did a poll on Instagram a couple of days ago. Hey, I'm talking with a vet. What questions do you have? What do you want to guess the top 2 questions for you are, or topics? I guess
there's probably spay and neuter, and probably I don't know. Food. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting. So the top 2 questions are what people want to know what they should have in their field kit or emergency kit. First aid. That was number 1, followed very closely by snake bites, rattlesnake bites. Those are the top two questions I got. overwhelmingly over everything else. So we'll dive in. First off, let's talk about rattlesnakes. I know rattlesnakes probably aren't a concern of everyone, but especially if you're hunting out west, some places I know those are going to be a concern. So, two-part question. I want to talk about if your dog gets bit, what do you do? And the second part is the rattlesnake vaccine. A lot of people were wondering about the vaccine. So let's say someone's dog gets bit. What do you do? Inukshuk Professional Dog Food is the highest energy dog food in the world. Inukshuk's dense formulations ensure that your pup in training and your seasoned bird dog get what they need to succeed in the field. Inukshuk works hard so your dogs can work harder. Check them out at inukshukpro.com. Trinity Bretons is the home of the Epagneul Breton, also known as the French Brittany. All Trinity Breton dogs are from champion bloodlines that are field tested and family approved. For over 33 years, Trinity Bretons has worked to offer you the best bred Epagneul Breton in the country. Check them out at trinitybretons.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram at Trinity Bretons.
So, and this has happened to a lot of my friends' dogs over the years, because I don't know if you've ever had this happen, but I've seen rattlesnakes in Colorado out on the prairie in December and January. Yeah. So they'll be in those prairie dog colonies out there on the prairie where the scale quail will be. And if you get a 70-degree day in January, the rattlesnakes can be out.
Sure.
I've seen them out when there's snow on the ground, except there's patches of snow, and then there's areas that's dried up, and I've seen them on that dried up stuff. If the prairie dogs are out, the rattlesnakes are usually out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've seen it. So it's a real threat. And so this is what I tell people. Number one, the more you do in the field, the more time you're wasting to get to the vet. So the best thing to do is collect up your dog, get in the vehicle as fast as you can, and start heading towards the vet. And so one of the things that I've talked to people in my practice over the years is, hey, if you're hunting in, say, Elkhart, Kansas, on the Cimarron, and your dog gets hit by a snake in November, because I've definitely seen snakes there in November.
Even in November, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. And like I said, I've seen them in January in Colorado. So there used to be a walk-in area that's down east of the Colorado Springs, about a couple hours, and I've seen rattlesnakes there when in December and January. Wow! So it can happen.
That's crazy.
And so, I've seen a diamondback, Western diamondback in New Mexico in November. So a little one too.
Wow. Is it true from your experience, if you're seeing a snake late in the year, typically it's cold-ish around January, are they going to be slower reactive?
Much slower. Okay. Yes. Yeah. One time when I was in Wyoming, up by Chugwater, Wyoming, except it was October 1st, as a matter of fact, we saw a prairie rattler and it could hardly move.
Oh, wow.
So back to your question, the first thing you should do is relax, don't panic. Get your dog safe, get your dog comfortable. The more you can keep them calm and just head to the vet. So know where the nearest vet is one of your jobs before you go there. Know their phone numbers, maybe program them in your phone.
Sure.
Is not a bad idea. So if there's, if anything, I know people ask me all the time, well, should I have Benadryl on my first aid kit? Should I have prednisone, which is a corticosteroid? Those things aren't going to help a snake bite at all.
Really?
So, yeah, at all. Okay. So that if anything, you could start them on antibiotics, because a lot of them do get infection at the bite site, because there's a lot of bacteria in their teeth, in their fangs, that they inject venom.
So you're saying I can take the Benadryl out of my vest?
It's not a bad idea to have it, because what if your dog got stung or bit by something and they had their face swelled up, then it's not a bad idea to have Benadryl. Okay.
So it has a place.
Yeah. Benadryl, and the typical dose of Benadryl is about 1 milligram per pound of body weight. So a 50-pound dog can get 50 milligrams of Benadryl, or 25-pound dog can get one tablet. A 50-pound dog could get 2 tablets. You could do it every 8 hours.
Okay.
So there is definitely a place for it. And if they gave it for a snake bite, there's no harm in giving it. It's just not going to really do anything. So do I use steroids in snake bites? If I'm treating them with the antivenom, yeah, I do. I usually give them a dose of dexamethasone, which is a steroid. And I'm more worried about them having a reaction to the antivenom than I am
Really?
to helping the bite. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
So I've never had a dog bit by a snake, but is there any concern? Like, do you need to be worried out in the field of where the dog got bit on the body?
but let me ask you a question. Where do you think is the most dangerous spots to be bit? As far
I
as
would think the neck. That'd be my gut
that's
reaction.
everybody says that, and I've seen a lot of. I talked to the first snake bite I ever saw was in Walla Walla, Washington, and I'm a young vet and I'm panicked, so I called this vet. He's probably still practicing. He's practicing in Lewiston, Idaho. He said, "Oh, first of all, don't panic. It's prairie rattler. They're not very venomous. I never seen a dog die from a snake bite." But he said he was telling me that if they get bit in the face, it's usually better if they're bit in the face than they are in the leg, and that's been my experience. I probably,
Really?
I mean, yeah. So I probably treat maybe 1 or 2 dogs per year from being bit by a snake, and I actually had a cat in my practice that got bit 3 times.
Oh, wow.
I treated it twice. This is 3 consecutive times, not the same time.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking different times.
Oh, different time. Oh, wow.
so the third year this happens, lady calls me, says, "This damn cat got bit again. I'm not bringing it in." And I'm like, "All right, I understand that." She goes, I hope that sucker dies.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't die.
Oh,
He didn't die. So, and I thought a lot about this.
Yeah.
He didn't probably die I treated him twice with antivenom, and he did pretty well. On the third time I didn't treat him, and he probably did have some antibodies from being bit before that probably helped neutralize the venom. So that would bring me into your next question. That's the vaccine. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't been a big fan of the vaccine.
Okay.
I have never used it on my dogs. I get called more by people all over the country that their dog had a reaction to the snake vaccine than they got swelling or whatever. And I don't want to talk too much about the vaccine because I've been criticized by somebody in their company.
Sure.
Because I didn't think it really worked. And so they were trying to prove to me that it's effective. But this is the deal about that vaccine. The bottom line is it's been on the market for 20 years and it's still not USDA approved. It's on a limited license after 20 years. Come on.
Okay.
So what they did is they haven't proved that it's got efficacy against what they're claiming.
Okay.
So it's a good concept. And I think
Sure.
this is my opinion. I think it works pretty well 50% of the time. Now I say that 50% of the time, 50% of snake bites have no venom injected into the pet.
Oh, really?
So 50% of the time the vaccine works great.
I think I remember hearing you tell me that another time.
So now I probably just opened myself up for a whole can of worms again. But and
at its core, sorry, real quick, at its core is the vaccine basically antivenom in a vaccine kind of form?
No, what it is is supposed to stimulate. It's antigen that's supposed to stimulate antibodies so that it will neutralize the vaccine or the injection when they get bit.
Okay.
So I think it's a great concept.
Sure.
And there may be some. It's only supposed to be good for the Western Diamondback. So if you got the Mojave rattlesnake, or you got copperheads, or you got water moccasins, or you got coral snakes, it's not going to work.
Okay.
And so maybe it would work for Western Diamondback, and maybe if I lived in Western Diamondback country, I'd be more prone to push it. But I live where there's prairie rattlers; they're not very venomous.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like I said, I've seen I don't see it. I haven't seen 100 snake bites, but I see 2 or 3 a year that I treat.
Sure.
So,
and then one other thing just on this before we move on, you mentioned that it's from what you've seen, it's more dangerous for a dog to get bit in the leg. Is it?
yeah.
Versus, is that, and why is that? Is that just maybe?
I think it gets into circulation faster.
Okay.
So I had one dog, this is a cattle dog, and it lived in the same neighborhood where that cat got bit. The owners rushed the dog into me and it was out, and there was not a puncture wound and there was not any bleeding or any swelling, but this dog was dying.
Really?
So I got it the antivenom. And one of the things that I did is I took a quick blood sample out of the other leg and I looked at the blood sample underneath the microscope, and the red blood cells look like crowns, or what they call echinocytes. So they have all these spiky little crowns on them. And I'm like, okay, this dog definitely got envenomated by a poisonous snake. So that gave me enough confidence to go ahead and treat it with the antivenom, because the antivenom can cause problems too. Plus, it's expensive as heck. So that's for people who say, well, can I get the antivenom from you and just carry it? Because you can give it intravenously, and you can also give it intermuscular, which I've never done the intermuscular. Usually I put in 300 mils of saline and then run it slowly to the dog or the cat or whatever I'm treating. But anyways, after about an hour of running that antivenom to that dog, the leg swelled up and then it had a puncture wound, but I never could see a puncture wound or anything.
Wow.
So I had to go by what the owners told me. They saw a snake, it was coiled up. Yeah. Dog went over the top of it, it yelped, and then within 15 minutes it collapsed. Wow. So, and then I saw the echinocytes on the blood smear.
Okay. So once does the antivenom work pretty quickly then? Like to bring that dog kind of back, or?
Oh yeah, within 15, 20 minutes, I started getting some reaction from the dog. Like I said, I run it about 300 mils of saline, and I run it really slow. So,
wow, that's fascinating. Yeah. Okay. Next thing, everyone wants to know about, a barbed wire cut or a pretty big wound to the dog. It could be, again, anywhere on the body. Maybe it's a puncture wound, a deep cut. What kind of care does someone need to offer that dog when that happens in the field? Do you staple? Do you not staple? What would you do?
Well, usually, it depends. I've stapled a lot of wounds and then continued to hunt my dogs. There's nothing better than putting the skin back over a wound as a bandage. So, I got a good case in point of that. On Friday, I stitched a German short hair pointer up that had a barbed wire cut that the owner stapled. And so I think he did a great job. He showed me pictures of it, but it came apart. And I think the number one thing that I see that he didn't do, and that a lot of people don't do, is they don't properly clean the wound before they flip it back up and staple it. So, make sure you got some kind of saline and betadine solution, or you could even use peroxide as long as you dilute it out with saline or water. You want to use pretty weak peroxide, because peroxide can cause free radical damage to tissue and kill that tissue that you want to heal back. So clean the wound, staple the wound, but realize that you may have to have it stitched again. But there's no better bandage than to put the skin back over and cover it to keep it from getting infected.
Okay.
So
you, again, depend. I know there's so many variations of what could happen, but would you kind of, again, if it was you and your dog, would you take the extra time to, clean it, staple it, versus just bandaging it and going to your nearest vet?
Well, again, it depends. And so, like, if you had and this is a common thing I've seen, is where they hit the cephalic vein in the front leg when they're going through those wires, and then you got blood squirting like crazy. It's not an artery, but the vein's pretty superficial. That you need to immediately address, and I would wrap that and go get help as soon as you can. So, but it depends also on your confidence level and what you've learned, in first aid. So I've seen a lot of people that if they take a first aid course and they can clean the wound, they can staple the wound, and they don't need a vet to look at until they get home. So If it's a huge wound that's really deep into the subacute tissue or into the muscle layer, I'd probably stop what I was doing and go get help.
Yeah.
If it's just a skin tear, those skin tears can be stable.
Okay.
So, and the reason I say that is if you have a cut into the muscle layer, you got a cut into the subcutaneous layer, you need stitches inside as well as stitches outside. Or what happens? What happens is if you don't close up the inside, you leave a bunch of space in there for fluid to accumulate or cause a seroma. So seromas
the blood's going to pool, right?
Yeah, and blood pools, and then the blood breaks down, and you get all the breakdown byproducts of the blood, and then that's what a seroma is. And actually, a seroma is not that big a deal if you clean the wound well enough, and you put the skin back over, and you were able to. Sometimes seromas will resolve, but sometimes they don't, and just stitches will fall out, and the skin will die. Or sometimes the wound is traumatic, like they hit into a tree really hard, and it splits. So sometimes those traumatic injuries, you stitch them. They come apart because you damaged all the surrounding tissue. So,
okay. All right.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did for sure. Again, what I'm taking away is get to a vet because I don't want to be dealing with blood and I don't know. I just
no. I mean, and this is the thing is if you see blood, stop blood before you do anything else.
Yeah.
So, and that's when my first aid kit, I have all kinds of bandage material, but you can use, you could just use duct tape and a towel, duct tape and a paper towel, put pressure on a wound and stop it from bleeding.
Yeah.
So while you're traveling.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay. Next one is kind of around food and watering. First one, I guess, kind of related to this, I guess, is heat exhaustion. And what are, I guess, some of the signs that you need to look for when your dog is kind of reaching that peak of heat exhaustion or could have a seizure or something like that when they're too hot? Like, what are some signs to look for? And second part is how to cool them down.
All right. So I've seen my dogs do this. So typically once the outside temperature hits about 85 degrees, I don't run my dogs anymore. 85 is kind of my cutoff. But the first thing I've noticed when my dogs start getting hot is they might, stagger a little bit, or they, excessive frothing from the mouth because they're panting so hard. So those are things. I mean, the minute they start becoming a little disoriented is when you ought to say, okay, this is being stupid now. Let's stop. So a lot of dogs, some dogs can tolerate heat and some dogs cannot tolerate heat. And I've had both. My little Gretchen dog could tolerate, I could probably run her at 90 degrees outside because she was 27 pounds. But then I had another setter named Danny Boy. Man, it's 73 degrees. He was panting so hard and I had to put him up. He'd get weak and then... So
every dog's going to have their threshold.
Yeah. So it depends on like a black dog, a Labrador. I mean, shoot, you got to be very careful because they heat up. My English Cocker was black and she got hot very fast. So those are the things to look for. Disorientation. I've even had them vomit because they got so hot and sick from the heat really fast. And it doesn't take much. I've seen dogs die in 80-degree weather.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. So what's the best way to cool them down? So let's say someone sees that, the extra frothing at the mouth or things like that. Like what do you do next? How to cool them down quickly?
Let them, the best thing to do is let them keep drinking the whole time. So if you're like, I was in Wyoming last year in September running dogs and we quit by the time it hit 80 degrees, we were like, okay, that's it. We're done. So water frequently can cool them down, kind of maybe slow down their pace a little bit is a good way to cool them down. They get really hot, then you need to get them wet. So dogs cool off through their pads in their feet and from panting. So,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's one of the things that I like about when you hunt in like New Mexico or Arizona. There's a lot of water tanks or ponds and stuff that you find when you're hunting, and dogs can go get in those ponds. So
yeah. That's good to cool them off, get them all drenched and cool them down.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I've thought a lot about this. Is there's an opportunity out there for every situation to kill your dog when you're hunting. I mean, they could jump in a hot springs and you didn't know it was hot springs, or that they could any situation kill them. So always use common sense when you're running your dogs. That's probably the best advice I could give anybody, is use common sense.
Yeah.
If your gut tells you don't do it, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah. That's the gold nugget of this podcast right now. Just use common sense.
I'm telling you.
I'm sure you've seen everything.
No, I've seen everything, and I've done some dumb stuff. And then I thought, man, I wish I would have thought that through a little better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I guess when it comes to watering, electrolytes, is that anything that, if you think your dog's maybe dehydrated, is that something that can help, does not help?
I think that electrolytes can help, but I think electrolytes before exercise is probably better than electrolytes during exercise. So, I mean, dogs can have Pedialyte. I've used Pedialyte for years in dogs that have had diarrhea, or they've, just want to get a few more electrolytes in them. So dogs don't sweat like we do. So all of their electrolyte balances go through the kidneys. So, I've started playing with some of those things, like the recovery type things. And because again, with my buddy up there in Wyoming that's got that dog that gets out a mile, I mean, I think that those kind of things can definitely help them recover and be ready for the next day. But if you want to prevent like muscle injury and stuff like that, and that was your goal of the electrolyte therapy, you're probably better to do it before exercise.
So night before, give them some of that in their water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, and there's no harm. I've read some things about, Gatorade has dyes in it. But a little Gatorade's never going to hurt a dog, and Pedialyte doesn't have any dye in it. It's definitely not going to hurt a dog to give a dog Pedialyte. Okay. So, do they absolutely need that? I don't know. You know what? Probably the most important thing to take away from watering a dog is just give them plenty of fresh water, as much as you can carry. So. Which is a problem. That's our problem out here in the West, is we got to carry out our water. If you go back east, they got water everywhere. It's wet.
Sure. Have you? I mean, I'm sure you've heard of some people put water in their food the night before a hunt to get kind of extra water in them. Is that is it a myth?
No, I'm a big fan of water in the food. Yeah, the more moisture they get in them, the more the more hydrated they are. Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's not a myth.
Okay. That's good. This is something you and I've chatted about kind of on and off over the years, is feeding once a day, twice a day. Have you seen or heard any studies on benefits, pros or cons to twice versus once a day?
So this is what the experts say, is that dogs, if you feed a dog the night before, they get the most energy for the next day. But I'll be honest with you, I have become a fan of feeding my dogs twice a day.
Okay.
So it's a personal preference. So
will you feed them the morning of your hunt? Will you feed them?
I always have.
Okay.
Ever since I've had pointing dogs and been in vet school, I've fed my dogs twice a day.
Okay.
So, and I know a lot of people will say, well, your dog could blow, or your dog could, and I've heard people say, don't ever feed them when you put them in the kennel and then you drive somewhere. Man, I've done that so many times. So this is the bottom line, Will, is when you see a list of things to say that could cause blow, this, and this can cause that. That bottom line is that nobody really knows why that happens. So they just, it's like cause and effect, that they did this and then that happened, and that had to be why that happened. I don't know. I mean, I've always fed twice a day. I've ran my dogs and fed them in the morning. Sometimes they don't eat as good in the morning, so I might give them a little bit more in the evening.
Sure.
So, and the other thing, and I've read a lot of these sled dog things. I didn't tell you this, but one of the things that I just picked up is I'm going to be the veterinary editor for the Upland Almanac. And so one of the things I was going to do is there's some new literature out about feeding athletic dogs, and I've been reading it. And one of the things that I picked up out of that is that it's okay to feed them before exercise, but they probably are going to get more if you feed them a little bit later, or if you feed them and then you wait 4 hours before they run and then maybe give them a snack halfway through it. So that's kind of what the current thought is: feed them, but give them 4 hours before you exercise them. They're going to get maximum amount of energy out of their calories.
Okay.
So
that's good. Couple more in this kind of, I don't know, whatever I'm calling it, field care section. On the west here, I know in Colorado we have some of this. I think further west we do as well, like cheatgrass, speargrass, weed seed, things like that. What do people need to look for when you're maybe train your dog in the summer when these things are, I guess, in full bloom? And can you talk a little bit about?
This is my biggest fear as a dog owner, and it's one of the reasons why my dogs are insured. Is because I've seen this so many times. I mean, and I'm guilty, and it's been an absolute miracle that none of my dogs have ever had this. But running dogs when they have to roll their tongue out because they're so hot, and you're running them in grass seeds, they can have those things go down their throat and into their lungs. And so to find those things without advanced imaging is almost impossible. So with the advanced imaging, I mean like MRIs, CT scans, things like that. X-ray is not going to pick it up. And those things are really cost prohibitive if you don't have your pets insured. So, I mean, the CT scan's probably going for, you probably could get one for $1,200, but an MRI, you're looking at $2,500 to $3,000.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money, and that's just getting the image. That doesn't treat the pet.
Jeez.
So number one, if you can avoid training them when the weed seeds are out, do it. If you have to mow the grass or mow the weeds down to train, that's what you should do. So a lot of field trial people stop when the mean seeds are out. So spear grass is included. I absolutely hate those things. And so in our long-haired dogs, looking between their toes, make sure there's not grass on between the toes, or
they can embed in the skin, right?
Absolutely. Okay. So spear grass is probably one of the meanest buggers, man. There's a place where we hunt valley quail in Idaho, and the spear grass is so bad, and it's not very tall. And so my big dogs, it never affected my big dog, but my little cocker would always get one, weed seed in the ear. As the vet there, I had to take her to the vet in Idaho. He called them June grass. So, but combing your long-haired dogs to make sure, because sometimes those seeds are sitting on the skin. They're not in, they're just barely poking in, but they'll move in if you leave them there, they'll move in. And I've seen some dogs, and I've seen some bad ones over the years. I've seen some like Great Pyrenees with that long, heavy coat, and the weed seeds getting underneath that coat, and then the dog
is it swelling? Someone would notice first.
Yeah, but what will happen is they can get huge swelling, and sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack to try to get those things out, and that's why MRIs are good, or CT scans are good to find those. But the problem is, again, you're spending, for a CT scan, $1,200 before you even started treating the problem. So, a good friend of mine that's a vet on Long Island, he'll inject those draining wounds with a stain called new methylene blue, and then follow the stain track until you find it. And I've done that a couple of times, but I haven't been very successful. Sometimes it's tough to find those, and it's my biggest fear. It's happened to all my dogs.
Wow! And you're talking about when you say that, you're talking about finding the seed in the dog or on the coat?
In the dog.
Okay.
So that's when you didn't find them on the coat. So they can be on the coat and then all of a sudden be in the dog because they work their way in.
Oh, they go through the skin into the dog even.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
Yep.
That's awful. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, so when you're done hunting, you should always set your dog on the tailgate and do your tailgate inspection. Look in the eyes, look in the ears, try to flip the third eyelid over, make sure there's not a weed seed on underneath the third eyelid. Check between the toes, get your comb out. If you got a long haired dog, pointers, you can see if there's a freaking grass on or something stuck in their coat.
sure.
Because they don't have that long hair.
Yeah.
But, I got a steel brush or steel tooth comb that I absolutely love. And I just run that through my dogs and I get all the weeds off them as best I can.
Okay.
So and it would help for if you're in that kind of comb, and that kind of an inspection would help in the Midwest and in the, the lake states where they got ticks. You're looking for ticks too. Get those suckers off the dogs.
Yeah.
So
okay. That's good. Okay. All right. So the question everyone was kind of wondering is what are some things you'd recommend that are maybe some must-have items that they carry with them in the field, but also maybe what are some things you could keep at the truck? What are some things you need to keep with you, and maybe some things at the truck?
So, I mean, if you go to mine and Andy's blog, which is uplandways.com, and you look at my field first aid kit, it's not very extensive. So you should always have like bandage material at the truck. And maybe it's not a bad idea to have some bandage material in the back of your vest. So another thing I carry is I like that electrolyte paste. It's flipping my mind what the name of it is, but it's kind of got high fat and calories. NutriCal. And it's got electrolytes in it. It's also got high fat content. So it keeps the dog, if they start getting a little, low on sugar, it keeps their sugar up, stuff like that. I keep that in the back of my bag. Another thing I carry with me in the back of my bag is a little collapsible water dish, because for some reason my dogs hate to drink out of squirting in their mouth. So I just pull that thing, make it, fold it out, and then just fill it up, let them drink. And then I put it right back in my vest.
Yeah. Okay. Are you carrying a stapler with you in your vest? Or are you leaving that at the truck?
No, it's always in the truck. I mean, I might be 5 miles from my truck, but I usually can get my dog back if I had to do something like that.
Sure. Okay.
So.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'll link.
It wouldn't be a bad idea. Some of the things that don't have on that I should update is like, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have something like trazodone, which is a mild sedative that you could give your dog in case you had to pull porcupine quills. Or if you wanted to do that staple, you could give it wait a couple hours, clean the wound really well, and then staple it up. So trazodone is one of those. Again, that's a prescription drug, so the listeners would have to contact their veterinarian and get, a prescription from their veterinarian. Gotcha.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Again, and also, it also depends on what you should have in your bag, depending on what your comfort level is. Like I said before, sometimes it's better not to tinker around in the field. You're better off to go, maybe have somebody comforting the dog or keeping the dog stable while you're driving to get to the nearest vet.
Sure. So. Okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I'll link to that blog in the show notes here, so people can check that out. Just a couple more vet questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Flea and tick prevention. Is this something that you recommend doing year round? Again, depending on where you live, but like here in Colorado, for example, is that something I can let up on during the winter, or is that something you would kind of keep your dogs on year round?
No, I only see flea and ticks in the spring and early summer. Once it gets hot and dry, I don't see them. So here in Colorado, my dogs get fleas every year at the cabin. And so in Colorado, we have the plague, and that's a common cat flea carries the plague. It doesn't have to be the rodent flea. It can be the cat flea. Wow. So even here in Castle Rock, every summer there's a squirrel they talk about that died with the plague. And I've had actually one of the dogs that's staying at my house right now had the plague last summer. We're pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you explain the plague? Is that just a flea outbreak?
No, the plague is a bacteria that they get from fleas, from a flea bite. And so So if you have rodents in your yard or rabbits, or where my dogs are getting it at my cabin, we got tons of rabbits. And so there are a lot of fleas. So when in the spring and the early summer, I give them a product like Simparica Trio, which does fleas, ticks, heartworm, stuff like that. I like Simparica Trio. So for just ticks, like I've had a couple of clients go to Minnesota that have lived here in Colorado Springs, and they got to Minnesota. One year they had ticks so bad on their dog, and I said, okay, next year we'll do something better. So that the next year, what we did is we had the dog on Simparica, which is just tick and fleas, and we had them put a tick collar on, either Preventic or what's the Serestos or whatever the other one's called. And then he combed the dog out. But the next year, the dog didn't have a single tick. He had ticks on him, but the dog never did. So those products work.
Yeah.
One of the things I will say about a good friend of mine's dog got Lyme's disease, or got a tick-borne disease last year, and he had one of those tick collars on, but they say they last 6 months. I don't believe that. And it'd been wet, and so I think I would, if it was me and I was going somewhere that was heavy in ticks, I would probably put a brand new collar on. So the tick collars work, the flea collars do not work. So,
okay, but tick ones do. Do you versus like a tick collar versus like an oral medication or an oral preventative? Do you have one or the other that you like more?
I mean, I really like Simparica Trio, which again, that does my fleas and my ticks, and it does roundworms and
that's a 3-in-1, right?
Yeah, but the only thing it doesn't do is tapeworms, and we do see a fair number of tapeworm. And the most common way, the ways that dogs get tapeworms is from eating a flea or eating a rabbit. And so if your dog eats a flea or eats a rabbit, it can get tapeworm, and that's a lot of dogs eat rabbits. So
yeah. And tapeworms,
especially if you have the wire hair breed.
Oh, I'm sure.
I had one the other day that was that had tapeworms. I
No
said,
way.
Did your dog eat a rabbit? He goes, oh yeah, this dog's always eating rabbits.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it was a wire hair. So wire hair. It wasn't a Griffin or so.
That's funny. And then one more well, you mentioned worms. I guess heartworm preventative, same thing. I guess with heartworm, how what's the how do dogs get heartworm first off?
It's through the bite of a mosquito. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it takes 6 months from the time they get bit by a mosquito till they have adult heartworms. And so I think like here in Colorado, I mean, we have about a 5% chance, but if you go back east, it's 100% chance.
Wow.
So if I lived say I lived in North Carolina, or I lived in Alabama, someplace like that, my dogs would be on it year round.
Wow.
So, yep.
Okay. So that's super important.
Yeah. So here in Colorado, it's, we don't have mosquitoes in the wintertime. Although one time when I lived in Elizabeth, Colorado, long time ago, I think it was December, I was down in my basement. I said, oh, there's a mosquito. It's December. So
it happens.
It
does.
But again, I mean, it's slow. We didn't used to have heartworm here in Colorado till really it got bad when all those dogs came from when they had that big hurricane in New Orleans.
Oh, Katrina.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All those dogs came and from Katrina that were abandoned or homeless, and a lot of them had heartworm, and then they got into our mosquitoes and our coyotes.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's a good idea. It just makes good sense. And there's some, there's some good stuff out. The traditional, like the Simparica Trio, the traditional treatment of heartworms is you give them a pill. It's in their system for about 4 days. And then you give them another pill 30 days later. So you're actually treating backwards in time. Okay. So that means if they got bit 4 days after they got the dose, when you give them the next dose, it's killing the worms that were injected by the mosquito.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there's some new products out there. Well, they're not new, but there's a product out there that's an injection.
Mm.
ProHeart, it used to be called ProHeart 6 because it was good for 6 months. And now it's called ProHeart 12 because you can give an injection that lasts 12 months. And it's just for heart. They say it does some roundworms and stuff like that, but in my mind, it's only good for heartworm. So the drug is called moxidectin, and I used it a lot in horses. It's a good dewormer in the horse.
Okay.
And what it does is it sits underneath the skin in these microcapsules. And when the mosquito bites the dog, it releases those heartworms and they die in the skin. And so it's actually a preventative that's killing those heartworms immediately.
Wow.
So it's safe. I mean, I used it. I think it came out in about 2000. And then they took it off the market for a while. But in 2000, I probably gave, 5,000-6,000 shots of it. I never had any problem.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
So, I mean, a lot of people say, well, I forget to give a monthly. Well, then give the shot. But I use the monthly because I want flea and tick and other preventions. And so I just, on my iPhone, I just put it in the calendar and every month, the same day of the month, I remember. Yeah. Just like everybody else.
Exactly. So, that's what I started doing with my dogs is just, set a calendar reminder and just, it's been pretty easy. So it's been good.
Easy thing to do.
All right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say when you're thinking about your first aid kit, you don't really need a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you want to learn how to stitch, go take some classes. You can stitch a wound up, you can numb the wound up. It really depends on what your comfort level is. But again, if your gut feeling tells you that something's bad and it ought to be seen, then you should probably be going.
Sure.
So
again, common sense, right? Common sense.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. You knew I was going to ask you about this, the great debate of spaying and neutering. I'm sure you hear about this all the time, right?
Yeah. And I've been criticized on this one too, Will. One time, Tom Davis, that writes for the Pointing Dog Journal, he asked me what my bottom line was. And I said that dogs, in my opinion, are healthier with their sex hormones. And several veterinarians responded to the editor. You know how you can write back to the editor and said that there's more pets that die in the Humane Society because they were not spayed and neutered, I'm like, okay, whatever. That's not true. I mean, there's a lot of dogs that have behavioral problems that have nothing to do with whether or not they have their sex hormones. So if you want to ask me, I have 2 female dogs. Are they spayed? No, they are not spayed. Is that them being in heat a pain in the butt? Absolutely.
Sure.
Pain in the butt.
Sure.
But I think they're healthier with their sex hormones. But I don't think that there's enough evidence out there that if I leave my dogs intact and I don't spay my dogs, are they going to not get cancer? No. I think it reduces the risk for some joint problems. It reduces the risk for some kind of cancers. And most of those cancers were looked at in the golden retriever. And the golden retriever has a lot of genetic cancer. So they found that if you let those golden retrievers go 18 months without being neutered or spayed, they had a less likely chance of getting a disease like lymphoma or hemangiosarcoma, which are genetic cancers. I still see them. We're recommending later in spays and neuters. I'm still seeing genetic cancer. So if anything, letting the athletic dog have its sex hormones longer, it makes their bones develop better. They probably are less likely to gain weight and they're less likely to have joint issues.
So you're not even saying don't do it at all. You're kind of even suggesting just don't do it. Because again, when I was growing up, we had dogs. It was like, as soon as a dog turned 8 months or 9 months, people are like, oh, you have to spay or neuter then. You're just saying kind of like, wait a couple of years. Yeah,
wait, and also it needs to fit in your lifestyle. If having a female in season in your house and you got another male dog that's not neutered and they're driving you nuts, and don't do that. I mean, I don't think if you go out and you get them spayed or neutered, they're going to be any worse off than they were. I think that there's a lot of things that we don't know in the veterinary community. In fact, now I'm starting to see a lot more people, even behaviorists, saying that they have less problems when they're intact, because once you take those hormones away, there's no negative feedback. And so there's things going on in the brain, and there's things going on in the adrenal glands, because they don't have the feedback from the gonads. So that's my opinion on that. But if you're going to let your dog roam around the neighborhood and it's an intact female, and the neighbor next door letting his dog roam around the neighborhood that's an intact male, then yeah, you're not being responsible. But most of my pet owners are responsible.
Sure.
And they don't have problems having intact males or females.
Sure.
So
so with males, have you heard people say, oh, again, is it a myth where they say if you neuter a male, he's going to lose some of his, hunting drive or some of his drive? Is that something you see, or?
That's absolutely a myth.
Okay.
So that's a myth. So I think maybe they slow down a little bit, as they're not as active when they're neutered. But I think that still, I've seen a lot of good dogs that have been spayed and neutered that had great hunting drive. It didn't take anything out of their hunting drive. So
sure.
So I think that's a myth. Now, one of the things that people say, well, is there some consequences if I leave them intact? Yes, you can get cystic endometrial hyperplasia and on your females, which is called pyometra, where they get pus from having those cysts, and they can have need an emergency surgery. Or on the flip side of that, you can have males that get testicular cancer. But I have a fair number of male dogs that are intact in my practice, and I'm probably seen maybe one dog that has testicular tumor, and it's a Griffon, wire pointed hair Griffon, and he's got testicular tumor, and it's totally benign, and we've just been watching it. So, but I mean, could he get? Yeah, if they're gone, he's not ever going to get testicular cancer. Sure. He can also have an enlarged prostate when he turns 8 years old, which can affect how he moves, how he gets up, and stuff like that. And now there's drugs out there that work for those things. So
sure.
I think the bottom line is it depends on your lifestyle, what you want.
Sure. Okay. Okay. That's good. Thanks for addressing that head on. That's always one of those hot button topics everyone likes to talk about.
I know. I talk about it all day, every day. And there's vets in my practice that say they got that Bob Barker mentality. Every dog needs to be spayed or neutered. And I don't have that mentality. I think it has to do with your lifestyle, whether you want to deal with it or you don't.
Sure. That's a real component.
But in my opinion, my dogs are healthier with their hormones. Yeah. So,
okay. Okay, that was that. And I just have a couple listener questions. I'll warn you, I don't have a ton of context around some of these, so we'll take them with a grain of salt. Okay. So someone wrote in and asked, why are some vets not vaccinating for Giardia anymore?
The vaccine taken off the market many, many years ago.
Oh, okay.
So again, in the veterinary profession, a vaccine needs to be USDA approved. It's not FDA approved. And so the bottom line is they have to provide that they have to prove that it's safe and maybe effective for the disease it's targeting. Okay. So I use that vaccine a lot. I used to. And it's probably been 15 years it's been off the market. But I thought that vaccine worked well in dogs that became chronic carriers of Giardia, and we couldn't get rid of it. The dog that I had to treat 5 or 6 times and they'd never get over it. The vaccine worked on those dogs. It never prevented them from getting Giardia.
Okay.
But I think it got them out of that carrier state.
Gotcha. So, okay. Because currently with a puppy, you give it's an oral thing, right?
No, that's Bordetella.
Bordetella.
What you're thinking about. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Dew claws. Do they serve a purpose, and is it worth removing them?
This is another one of those things, and I think.
Sorry, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I think Tom Davis asked me my opinion on this, and I've changed my opinion. And the reason I've changed my opinion is that I have a dog that suffers terribly from having her dew claws removed. So the dew claw the tendons from the dew claw and the ligaments it's tendons and the ligaments. The tendon stabilizes that wrist. And there's no doubt in my mind, because what happens is the largest carpal bone, the radiocarpal bone, can pop forward in some dogs that are big, hard running dogs. And I've seen it happen in my dog, who's crippled in both her front legs, and in a good friend of mine's dog from Boulder. He's a doctor from Boulder. He had a dog, same thing, crippled in both legs. He got bad carpitis, which is inflammation and swelling of the carpal joint or the wrist joint. So my absolute opinion is leave them.
Okay, because when the dew claws come out, you're saying the tendon and is cut off, basically, right? If you look
at your thumb and you move your thumb and you look at the top of your thumb, you see that tendon.
Oh yeah,
that tendon attaches up above and it stabilizes the wrist. You take your thumb away, you don't have that stabilization anymore.
Okay.
So and like, for instance, there's some other things about dogs being able to use their thumb to pull themselves out of ice, if they broke through the ice. I could see that. And in racing greyhounds, if you watch a racing greyhound go around the track, as they're going around the corners, that thumb is coming in contact with the ground. So I used to be of the opinion that it didn't matter if you left them or took them. I'm of the opinion now to leave them.
Okay.
Absolutely leave them, because now Gretchen had her dew claws, my English pointer, Jibbers had her dew claws, and I hunted those dogs harder than probably anybody as I hunted their dogs.
Yeah.
And I never once had a problem with their dew claws. The only problem I had with Gretchen's dew claws was putting a boot in cactus country. The dew claw would get pushed into the side of the foot and cause a wound.
Okay.
So my opinion is leave dew claws.
And I guess the opposite side of that with dew claws, what do people worry about by leaving them?
Them getting snagged on something.
Okay.
So, or, the webbing could have I've seen some of that grass, that like snake looking grass in South Dakota stabbing in there. And it could do that, but I don't think that's really a worry.
Okay.
So I've never had any problems with my dogs having dew claws.
Okay. All right, just two more for you. Someone wrote, when should I worry about an umbilical hernia?
That's a great question. Okay, so from a breeding standpoint, if you're going to, say you got a puppy and this puppy's got a huge umbilical hernia, you can put 3 fingers in it to push it up, and you got 3 fingers that can go into this hernia. That's a genetic disorder. You don't want to breed that dog. And that type of hernia needs to be fixed as soon as possible. So typically we don't like to put dogs under anesthesia till they're like 8 weeks of age would be the earliest I would fix a hernia like that. And they got to be at least 2 pounds. So, I mean, some puppies could be 2 pounds. And so I've recently had, I don't remember what breed it was, a hunting dog. I don't remember what breed, but it was a pretty significant hernia. And we decided we're going to wait on the spay. They wanted to let the dog develop the joints and the muscles and the tendons and all the soft tissue and bones good. And then, so I went in and I fixed the hernia at 8 weeks. And they're going to spay that dog down the road. They're probably going to do a laparoscopic spay, because it's a lot less harder on the dog than it is to make another big incision. But I went in and fixed it. So for 2 things, if it's a big hernia, you want to fix it sooner than later, because the bowel can get stuck in there. If it's a little hernia, like you can't even get the tip of your pointer finger into it, I probably wouldn't worry about it till you decide to spay or neuter them.
Okay.
So if you're not going to spay or neuter them, sometimes those things will get fat, so they'll just be fat filled. And it's sometimes when I go in and I correct those, I'll open it up and there's just fat in there, and there's no way any intestine can get into that. And so it's not a big deal. But the big ones are a big deal, because bowel can get into it and become obstructive, or become cut off. The blood supply can be cut off because it gets twisted in there.
So I should have asked you this first when I asked you the question. Can you explain what an umbilical hernia is?
So I'm
clear, so everyone's clear listening.
That's probably a wise thing because people don't think the same way I think. But anyways, what an umbilical hernia it's a rent or a break in the abdominal wall that should have closed up when the fetus or when the baby was born. So it leaves a hole in the abdominal wall and the musculature. So
okay, and that's usually kind of low, like on the belly where there's not a lot of hair, right?
That's right where your belly button would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good stuff.
I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know how often people have that type, kids are born with umbilical hernias. I have no idea.
Sure.
So, but in dogs, I see a fair amount. And then some breeds, I've seen some hunting breeds where the 3 or 4 dogs out of litter have it. And so a small one isn't a big deal. A big one is a genetic midline defect. And those dogs shouldn't be bred.
Yeah. Okay.
Those dogs should have them fixed and then be spayed or neutered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last one here for you. What's in all of the times that you've been practicing and seen all of these dogs that you've been taking care of, what's kind of like the most common thing you're treating in sporting dogs?
Well, I mean, I treat a lot of things in sporting dogs, but probably diarrhea is the most common.
Really?
Seriously. So dog out there eats something they shouldn't have, or they get vomiting and they have diarrhea. That's probably the most. So lacerations, porcupine quills are very common. A lot of times I'll see dogs where the owners pull the porcupine quills, but then they face swells up and then one festers out. So, but in my geriatric dogs, what do you think the most common thing would be?
Joints?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Yep. Because arthritis is a wear and tear disease. And so they wear them out. And so one of the things that I've started with my own dogs is I've started them on oral glucosamine the minute I get them. Okay. So
yeah, I think we talked about this a while back, like just like the straight, like Cosequin chews.
Yeah. Anything's better than nothing. So, and the foods that they talk up that they talk up glucosamine in their food, those things are bogus. I think you're better off to do like Cosequin DS or Dasequin or something like that.
Just because they're getting a higher dose of it, or
there's no way they could put enough of a dose in the dog food. You'd pay so much freaking money for the dog food, it would be cost prohibitive.
Sure.
So,
that's good. Well, I don't have this question in front of me. Someone kind of wrote in with dog food, like what's that threshold between, is it that 30-20? Is that kind of the sweet spot of fat to carbs and all that, like
protein? Yeah, I think again, it depends on your dog, how much you run them, but that 30-20 is what I use.
The sweet spot.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, I'm reading that article about these sled dogs, and so a lot of the sled dog people, they make their own foods. So
sure,
but I think a lot of these companies like Purina, I think they got it nailed. The sporting dog stuff, and Eukanuba, their sporting dog stuff is awesome. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Shawn. So last thing I like to wrap up with here is talk to the rookie upland hunter out there. Maybe someone who just got their own bird dog. Maybe someone's heading into their first season coming up this fall. What's a piece of advice that you would give them? That way, it could be vet related, it could be hunting related, training, whatever it might be.
Probably the best advice is find somebody else that's got the same passion and learn from them. Whether have a mentor or be a mentor. So, but have a mentor. I probably learn more from other people than I would have ever learned on my own.
Sure. And it's just fun being out there with someone else, sharing experiences with, and taking those moments in. It's pretty special.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. Rapid fire section here. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions and just kind of give me your off the cuff answer, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Sounds good.
For you, what came first, the gun, the dog, or hunting?
The hunting came first, and that's because my dad took us deer hunting when we were kids, and that's what got me into it. So,
okay,
yep.
That's great. I know you're out at the clay range in the you trap clays, everything, right? What is how many clays have you ever hit in a row?
Well, one time I had this old hammer gun Parker. It's a 10 gauge, but I got 12 gauge inserts in there. I shot 40 in a row.
Oh, wow.
But there are some disclaimers. I shoot the same target over and over. And I wanted to see if I could hit. I had 40 shells left, and I hit it 40 out of 40.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's good. I think the closest one so far is at 24 in a row. So you got them beat for right now.
Yeah, but it was sporting clays, and like I said, it was the same target over and over and over. So I try to when I go shooting, I try to do what's going to be more like bird hunting. I mean, those ones that get up so far away, I'm never going to take that shot. So I usually will let it go and then say, I'm not going to shoot this station. And, those guys that are shooting those stations are using 12 gauge 1 and an 1/8 ounce shot with really tight chokes. And I'm not hunting like that.
Sure. This just popped in my brain. So can you explain the different, like, I guess I don't know what you call them, activities of clay shooting? There's the trap, right?
Right.
And trap is where can you explain the differences?
Yeah. Trap, you got 25 targets, you got 5 stations, and at each station you're seeing 5. So you go to each station, you shoot 5, and it's usually it's a single shot game. So and I found that I really suck at trap. So,
and that's where you'll get crossers and different angles, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because they got an oscillating thrower in there, and so you're not going to get. You're maybe thinking more of skeet when you get the crossers. So skeet, I can't remember. I've only shot skeet like twice, and I didn't do very well at that either. But skeet's going to have the high house and the low house, and they have a number of stations. And I can't remember how many. Okay. The problem is the only place that I know to shoot skeet are from here or a long ways away. So I used to go with Steve Selvig down in Colorado Springs, and we'd shoot skeet, and in that you really need a very open gun. So that's why they call it skeet, the skeet choke. You need as open a choke as you can get, because the days that I've shot, I've always had my bird guns, and the skeet in the barrels weren't open enough, and I missed a lot.
Gosh.
So, and then I like the 5 stand. The 5 stand's kind of the same concept. I think you shoot 5 again. In each one of those, you shoot 25 targets, but they're closer to each other than, and you might have birds, you might have clays coming in at you, you might have them coming over your head.
Okay.
So 5 stand is probably my favorite. It's more like, to me, it's more like bird hunting.
Yeah.
At least where I shoot it is.
Yeah, you're out there quite a bit. It looks like you're quite the avid shooter.
Yeah, I go every week, but I try to take my guns that don't require me to shoot my shells I can't get. So because of the COVID and all that stuff, so I've been shooting all my modern guns instead of my old guns. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which leads us into guns. What gun are you carrying out into the field when you're bird hunting, and why?
What bird am I hunting?
Ooh, you're changing it up. Take a pheasant. What are you bringing for a pheasant hunt?
Well, when I went to Nebraska last year, I carried my Browning Satori 12 gauge. It's not a Satori, excuse me. It's a Superpose, and it's got double triggers. So it's the original 12 gauge. And that it just opt that pheasants. So, and I like being able to pull either the front trigger or the back trigger, which fires different barrels. So yeah.
Sharp tail hunt. What are you bringing?
Oh, the last couple of years I hunted with my hammer guns. I like my Parker 16 hammer gun. So on sharp tails, because the weather's usually good. I don't have to worry about if it rains.
Okay.
Yeah, and 16 is probably my favorite caliber or gauge, because you shoot a square load. You might have to get somebody on a gun guy to talk about the square load.
Definitely. That's the first time I've heard that term, so I'm intrigued.
You're shooting an ounce of shot and an ounce of powder, is my understanding. But somebody that's into ballistics understand way better.
Sure.
So,
Okay. And then just for fun, what are you bringing on a quail hunt?
Well, this year I'm going to try. I got some Winchester Model 42, which is the 410 pump gun. I'm going to try that on quail this year.
Okay.
So
they're
awesome. They're tight choked. And the original 42s had 2.5-inch chambers, and mine both have 3-inch chambers. So a 3-inch 410 and a full choke is a pretty lethal thing. I can bust the clays every day, all day long with those little 410s.
That's awesome. I've never shot a 410, not yet, at least.
Yeah,
I'll try that. Favorite bird to hunt and why?
Well, I love scale quail here in Colorado.
Okay.
Quail is my favorite bird, and then probably it's a toss up between woodcock and Hungarian partridge. I love Hungarian partridge because they rattle the heck out of you when the covey gets up. But I just love scale quail in Colorado because I like where they are. I like the way the dog has to learn how to hunt them because they run like heck. It takes a good dog to nail a covey of scalies.
Sure.
So, and currently I don't have one of those. I got a young dog. I got to get her to learn how to do that. But my dog Gretchen was phenomenal on scale quail, man. I trained her. It was okay if she busted the covey, if they wouldn't hold, bust the covey up, and then we'd watch where they go and land. Because once they land, they sit, and then she'd point them all for me.
Oh, that's cool.
Find the singles. It was fun, man.
That's cool. I definitely got to get after some scaly someday. It's going to be a tough one for you because you've owned so many different breeds of dogs, but your favorite dog breed besides the ones you've owned?
Well, I probably have to say poodle pointer.
Really?
Yeah. One of my clients was in the other day, and I probably insulted him. I thought he had a wire hair, but it was a poodle pointer. And I knew it was a poodle pointer, but I hunted with a poodle pointer a few years ago. That was just, the guy that was hunting with it, he didn't like the dog, and that dog was phenomenal. So she was, I think they got the drive, and they can go fast, and they just point. And if I was going to have a wire haired looking dog, it would be a poodle pointer.
Okay. All right. So, chalk one up for the poodle pointer. Last one here, Shawn. Beverage of choice after a hunt.
I like root beer.
Oh, nice. We going specialty root beer? We going big box?
Oh yeah. I like Boylan's, there's so many good craft root beers out there.
I can see the smile on your face right now.
My brother, one of the things I like to do is when I go to Idaho, the 1st of October every year to hunt with my family, I fill my cooler up with root beer because my nephews love it.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Is there any good Colorado made root beer you know of?
Yeah, there's one that's got, I don't remember what the name of that company is, but it's really good. Okay. The only downside is it's got corn syrup instead of sugar in it. I like the pure cane sugar, and those root beer is better. So,
yeah. No, that sounds good. I could go for one of those right now.
Yeah. I love ice cold root beer. There's nothing better.
And put a little ice cream in that for after dinner.
Yeah, no kidding.
There you go. Now we're talking. Well, Shawn, this has been a blast. Thank you. Thanks so much for carving out.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been wanting to get you on for a little while now, and honestly, it just took me a while to kind of craft some questions, and you've been on my mind for a while, and I'm glad we finally worked it out.
Veterinary medicine is a hard subject to talk about to people because there's so many opinions, and it's experiences that people have had as a vet and what's worked and stuff like that. And it's a tough thing. And first aid, is a tough thing for people to understand. And good advice to a listener would be to go to a canine first aid class. Yeah. So, I mean, I've gone to them, and I've been to vet school. So.
Yeah. I'll never forget the first time I think I told this to Nick Larson a while back, but the first time I heard you, and it was on Nick's podcast way back when he just started it. It had to be 4 or 5 years ago. And I was driving down I-25, I remember, and I was listening. I was like, wait, this guy's in Colorado. He hunts birds. He's a vet. And I just picked up my first, gauge at that point, and I looked you up, and I was like, all right, this sounds like a good vet.
Yeah, this is more me in a nutshell. Is I'm a bird hunter first, and then probably that I became a vet. So,
yeah, that's cool. It's something that we all care about our bird dogs so much, and it's nice to know that someone understands like our world, understands. Again, you get it. You have bird dogs. You hunt. You love the uplands. It's nice. I went to vets with dogs growing up, and had some bird dogs. And they're just like, wait, so your dog did what? And I don't know, there's just a disconnect sometimes. And
they don't, most of the vets that I work with, they don't understand what it really means to be you got your weekend warrior dogs, but then you got guys that run their dogs every weekend, and those dogs are super athletes. Sure. And they do amazing things, and people, unless you've seen it, and you can never understand it.
Yeah.
So
that's so true.
Yep.
So true. Besides Upland Ways, I'll link to that website, a blog that you and Andy did. What's the best way for people to reach out if they have questions, they want to connect with you at all?
They can hook me up on Instagram, Bird Dog Doc, or they can always call my practice. I probably get a dozen calls from around the country every year from people that had their vet couldn't figure something out, and I don't know everything, but I sure will help somebody if I can give them some insight or whatever.
Sure. So, well, that's great, Shawn.
Yep.
Well, thank you again. This has been a blast, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
All right. Take care, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap of episode 52 with Shawn Wayment. Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time, breaking down some of the veterinary medicine questions you may hear a lot of, but I really appreciate you, again, just breaking those down, making them easy to understand for a lot of us bird dog owners. Hey guys, don't forget, if you've ever considered a dog box, get your orders in with B Pro Kennels before July 31st. Use code ROOKIE30. It's going to save you 30% off your entire order and your custom dog box with B Pro Kennels. Reach out to Ben ASAP. Promo code is not going to be good once August 1st hits. So reach out to Ben over at B Pro Kennels. Also, don't forget about the July podcast giveaway happening over at patreon.com. Make sure you're signed up as a Patreon supporter, and there's some incredible gear up for grabs, including a vest from Final Rise, a knife from Upland Knife Company, cable gangs, as well as Gunner Kennels. So check out the giveaway details. Must be signed up as a Patreon supporter. July winner is going to be announced or contacted on August 1st. So we're going to have a giveaway for the next 4 months. So chances are high. Not a ton of people are entered so far. So if you want to get in to a sweet giveaway, win some cool gear, head over to patreon.com. Hey guys, until next time, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. If you haven't left a rating and review yet for the podcast, I would love for you to head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave a rating or review, I guess, and would really help the show get out there to more hunters just like you. And until next time, go put some miles on those boots and follow your favorite bird dog.